one of the most popular questions I get from emerging founders, it's always like, okay, where do I find my franchisees? Where do I get them from? So I get it that Terry had 3 to start out, but when you came on board, obviously the numbers took off. Would you share maybe with the audience, how did you guys find the first maybe dozen franchisees when you came on board?
Yeah, I think a little bit of it at first was just kind of some organic friends and family stuff. So I bought a franchise, for example. So I believed in the system enough
Mhm.
to open a location actually in your area. It's in Tampa. So I purchased one and started operating it. And that was a little bit of a strategic decision as well, just to, help me kind of get really deep into the understanding of how this business works and what the challenges are. So I've certainly learned through that experience. The critical thing is we started engaging with the broker community in 2021 for the most part, and so a big chunk of our franchise development have come from FranChoice and France, FranNet and FCC and that
Mhm.
crowd. So that's been a big part of it. And then we outsourced our franchise development for the past 3 years, and we're in the process of bringing that function in-house now. I do think that we're at a little bit of a pivotal point as a franchise. We've gotten some critical mass. We have great validation. Our franchisees are doing well and they're really happy. I'd like to see kind of a bigger mix of, organic franchise development in our future,
Mhm.
because we've been pretty dependent on the broker community, which has been fine, and they've helped us grow. But now that we have a brand that's in a lot more markets, I feel like we're positioned to start, making an effort in finding more one-to-one, like find the owner operator who wants to come in and roll up their sleeves and, operate these businesses firsthand and find them organically.
Yeah, from my experience being in the similar sector or same sector as you, Dave, I also found that to be the runway took a little bit longer than I expected before we
Yeah.
got the referrals of customers that were living, obviously in the territory where they were a customer and then they wanted to buy the territory next door. But it seemed like once the fire got lit, it just took off. Like it just became all referrals. And then our biggest problem was we were always getting franchise inquiries from territories that were sold out because everybody had
Right.
bought up the surrounding territory. But it did take a little bit longer than I was hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that play, like the organic in-house development play, is a slower burn. When I look at your business, I kind of went back and no offense, but I've researched a bunch of your FDDs from way back when, just kind of watched the growth and, look at that as a model. As I mentioned, I know a lot about the soccer shot system, and, soccer shot's a good, easy example because they're almost a one-to-one comparison
Sure.
to what we do. They're a 20-year story. Terry and myself and Dina actually went in April of last year to their headquarters at Justin's invitation to, just spend a little time with them, do a little best practice sharing and so on. And, they've been doing it for 20 years, right?
Mhm.
So they didn't go the route of, they went almost all organic lead generation and franchise development throughout their history. And they built an amazing business, but it's a 20-year story.
Yeah.
And so, we're trying to grow a little faster than that. And so, we've taken a bit of a different path, but there is, to your point, kind of a tipping point where you get to where you have enough brand presence in the market, being, let's say, the United States, to where you're touching enough people, interacting with enough customers, you have enough franchisees out there where people start hearing about it and they
Mhm.
go, well, that sounds really interesting. I'd love to get involved or find out more. And that's really hard to do when you have 3 locations, right? So I
Totally.
think you need to get to a certain point where that starts to take a life of its own.
Yeah. Dave, who was your ideal franchise owner and what are the traits that they need to be successful?
This is a very much an organic, like community build kind of business. I think about, non-brick and mortar franchises as coming in kind of 2 flavors. There's a flavor where the play is spend a lot of money on marketing to generate leads
Hmm.
and then be operationally competent. So spend money, get customers, have good operations to service those customers, rinse and repeat, right? And those businesses can scale quickly, but a lot of times there's not much recurring revenue. You're always like, if you stop spending 20 grand a month, you stop getting customers, right? So there's that kind of business. Our business is different in that it's a bit of a slower build. You're not going to spend 20,000 or anywhere near that amount of money on marketing. What you are going to do is go out and engage in the community.
Right.
And that means building relationships with, channel partners like directors of childcare centers, people that are running private schools, the people that are running the parks and recs departments in your market. You're getting to know those people, build those relationships, gain their trust and confidence so that they feel comfortable recommending your program to the community. And then, as I'm sure you saw the same thing in your business, you also got to get to know the parents. It comes down, in many cases, a one-to-one. Like, I'm talking to Bobby's mom about Kinetics because I think Bobby really needs to sign up and be a part of it. And so we're interacting like on a one-to-one basis with the parent. And so those kinds of things only happen for people who are comfortable getting out in the community, building those relationships, and doing that in volume and, repetitively, and, building that kind of, and never stopping, right? You kind of constantly have to be out there turning that flywheel. We just had a conference in Dallas last week, a leadership conference for some of our franchises and other members of our leadership team. And we talked all about, building and turning that flywheel. And this is a flywheel kind of business. Like, once you get it going, there is a lot of recurring revenue, and it gets easier the longer you do it. But, you have to get out there. I call it being the mayor of Kiddo Town. Like, somebody in your business, whether it's you, the owner, or someone that you've hired, has got to be completely comfortable with, climbing to the highest mountain in your market and telling everybody they can about Kinetics. The good news is that you're not going to spend a lot of money on it, but somebody has to do that work. So that's first and foremost.
Yes.
Is someone who's got that, community build mindset and skill set, and is willing to put in the work and get that job done. The second element then is going to that operational competence part. I see our business as really simple. Develop that business through the, business development, relationship building, et cetera. And then part two is building a high performance coaching team that's out teaching the classes. Some of our franchises say, finding and hiring and retaining coaches is their biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And other franchises would say that's not a problem for them. And if you dig into what's behind that, for the ones for whom it is not a problem, they tend to be better at team building, better at, building that community of coaches, building that local business culture where they can hire the best people in the market that are going to be the most reliable, that aren't going to ghost you on a class. They're going to show up. They're going to put in the discretionary effort and teach a great class, such a great class that the kids and the parents can't wait to get home and tell everybody else about it. That's like that formula. And so if you can couple those two things together, a culture builder with a business development mindset, man, that's a home run in this business. And so that's what we're looking for. I would say the last part, and this kind of comes with the territory, is I think you have to care about what we're doing. I think you have to be a bit of a zealot around the work that we're doing and the need for it. I think that's why our franchise model has been popular, is that for most people, that's obvious. They see too many kids with their heads down in screens. 80% of school-age children have two working parents, so they're at a child care center most of the day. Only less than a quarter of school-age kids are getting the amount of physical activity that they're supposed to get every day. And so people know that's a problem. There's a reason why more than a quarter of the kids in school are clinically obese. Like, there's a reason for that. And a lack of movement and activity is part of the reason. And so I can tell you that of the candidates that come and meet with us at our Discovery Day, the number of times that those candidates have said to me, well, I looked at a lot of different franchises, and as soon as I saw Kinetics, I knew this was the one for me. And I ask them why that is, and it's all about those reasons. Like, I understand the need. I think it's important work you're doing. I believe in the culture. I feel like this is a business that I can feel really good about. None of them have said, well, this is the one that makes the most money. Like, that's never been the answer.
Right.
And so they're looking for a business that can do well by doing well, or do good and do well at the same time. I forget that phrase. There's a phrase there somewhere, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So but I consider that, like, there's a lot of people who are like that. Sure. Not all of them are qualified to run a business, and so we look first for that, business development skill set and that team building skill set, and go from there.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.